Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Norway and we're going to return to a brewery who were one of my favourite Norwegian craft breweries when I was just kind of starting to get into to craft beer really. I'm still very impressed with the quality of their beers. So for this one we are going to go to a little place called Drammen, which is to the southwest of Oslo, and we're having a taste of yet another beer from Haandbryggeriet. This one is the Fyr Flamme, which is an IPA coming in at 6.5% ABV, and the name, as you might have guessed, just translates into English as fire and flame. I've heard that this beer has some relation to Fyr Flamme, which is an IPA from Brouwerij de Molen in Bodegraven in the Netherlands, but I can't find what the actual connection is, to be honest with you. I just saw that Untappd said that this was the Haandbryggeriet version of Fyr Flamme. So yeah, interesting this one. But this is the first kind of West Coasty IPA that I've had from these guys. The only other IPA that I've had from Haandbryggeriet was the Belgisk IPA, and that was really nice actually. So hopefully this is another good beer, and it seems to be rated pretty highly. So looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Haandbryggeriet before. No doubt I'll add some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Norwegian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Haandbryggeriet then. So as I've told you before about Haandbryggeriet, these guys are from the town of Drammen to the southwest of Oslo, and this town is located in Buskerud county, and it's got a population of around 63,000 people, and apparently this town started off as 3 separate seaport towns which were eventually merged together to form Drammen back in 1811. But the unique location of this town made it a big centre for timber and for shipbuilding as well. But the brewery itself was founded back in 2005 by Jens Marl, Rune Eriksson, Arne Eide and Egil Hilde. But the original premises was an old textile factory which was built back in 1874 in a housing estate not far from the Aas brewery, but they now have their own property in an old train yard which is really nice and modern looking. The brew kit that they have was bought from England and has about a 900 litre capacity per batch, brew quality if you like, or brew capacity, and in 2006 the production was 40,000 litres, but by 2012 they'd expanded this to 350,000 litres by using a new 1800 litre apparatus, and they've expanded it even further since then, but it's a little bit difficult actually to get hold of the exact figures of their brewing capacity. But these beers are now very widely available throughout Norway. They're also exported quite widely as well to America, to Japan. I think that was actually where I tried my first Haandbryggeriet beer, was over in Japan, and they export them fairly widely now to Denmark and Sweden and other places throughout Europe as well. These guys were one of the first Norwegian craft breweries other than Nugna that I encountered, so yeah, keep that in mind with these guys, one of the older and more established breweries. But in 2016 too, the founders decided to retire, so now the brewery ownership structure has changed slightly, and they're actually part of a group with Alsman Brewery and also Fjell Breweries too. So yeah, now kind of an interesting company this one. As I say, I've had some very good beers from these guys before. The Norwegian Wood was one of my favourite beers for a long time, that kind of smoked juniper beer that they have. It's beautiful. If you ever get the chance to try that, I really recommend that you do. I've had the Odin's Tipple, their Imperial Stout, which was very nice. The Belgian IPA was very good, and I think I've had a couple of others from these guys as well. I remember I had a Quadruple, the number 1000, which was really well done also. But this is the first time I'm trying a proper kind of straight up IPA from them, and I do have another one in the fridge that you'll see me review in a couple of videos time. But yeah, a very good quality brewery this one, and probably one of the easier Norwegian breweries for you to come across if you're not watching from the kind of Europe or Scandinavian area. These guys export to America, Japan, and I'm pretty sure I saw their beers in Australia and things like that too when I was down there. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. If you want to learn more about Haandbryggeriet, of course, You can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can look at the Rate Beer and Untappd pages for all the different beers that these guys have done. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. We can get rid of the brewery notes for the moment. So as you can see, you know, typical Haandbryggeriet artwork on this one. It's nice. There you can see the handprint that's kind of, it sort of mimics you holding the beer like this, which I think is really cool. There you can see it's also on the bottle cap as well, the handprint. It's also on their building actually, which is kind of cool. But it says a golden IPA with lots of fruity hops, well balanced with a full malt body. But yeah, 6.5% ABV this one, and it should be really nice. And I like how they say product of Norway on it as well. I wish they would put a little flag underneath it like Beerbibliotek in Gothenburg do actually. So yeah, let's get it out then and we'll get on with the tasting. Another, hopefully another very good beer from Haandbryggeriet up in Norway. Let's get it out and into the glass. I have to admit, my one complaint about this would be that it's not in one of the half-litre bottles that you always used to get from Haandbryggeriet. I always loved the big half-litre bottles, because you always drank these beers and you would be like, oh, you know, 330 is fine, but you wanted like another little bit just before you finished it off. I always prefer drinking beer in half-litres, to be honest, but probably that's just because I got into beer with the German beers. But yeah, so yeah, if I hold this beer up to the light, this one's a nice kind of dark blood orangey amber colour, this one. I'm not sure how well the colour is showing up on the camera there, but definitely a nice rich kind of blood orangey colour. It's actually the little fingerprints that are on the side of the bottle there. It's not too far away from the same colour as that. There's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say kind of ivory, creamy coloured head, this one. It's not a perfect white head on this beer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass at the bottom, and you can see a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance, and I'm pretty sure, just so that we're clear with this, that this is a West Coast IPA rather than a New England or something like this. It does have a little degree of haze to it, but you know, I'm pretty sure this is one of their older beers, so it is more of a kind of a West Coast IPA, this one. And from what I understand, they do have some cans and things like that. They do have new beers that they're putting out there every so often as well, but I think the ones that we're going to get here in Sweden will be the kind of core range. I don't think we're going to get the sort of special one-off brews until much later. But yeah, in terms of appearance, this one looks pretty much as you would expect from a nice kind of West Coast IPA. So let's look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Ooh, that smells pretty nice actually. So straight away with this one, is it's got a nice orangey quality to it, definitely some grapefruit. It comes across, you're going to notice this one, if you smell this beer, it's going to come across as very kind of old school. I mean, this reminds me of the old, you know, back in the day, the Punk IPA, the you know, the Sierra Nevada Torpedo and things like that, Stone IPA. You know, it's very much like that, to be honest with you. Yeah, this is really nice. Oranges in there, big oily orange. I do wonder if there's some Amarillo in here. One of my favourite hops, Amarillo, of course. There's definitely a little bit of a kind of grapefruity note to it. Could it be a little bit of Chinook or something? And you've got a bit of, there's definitely a little bit more of a kind of tropical-y character in there, I would suspect. I've got a feeling, there's something in my mind. It said there was 3 hops in this one. I would suspect that maybe Chinook, Amarillo and Citra. I think that's probably this one. It's probably a little bit of a classic kind of lineup, this one. But yeah, that's really, really nice aroma coming out of this one. It's a bit nostalgic for me. I love it when you go back and try beers like this. I really do miss the old West Coast IPAs, and I'd love to see some of these New England breweries, you know, like Stigbergets here in Sweden, for example. I'd love to see them have a go at a proper, you know, 70 IBU West Coast caramel malt basey IPA. I think that would be awesome actually, to see the West Coast IPAs make a comeback, because a lot of the more West Coasty IPAs that you're coming across now, they do tend to be about 40 IBUs, and the West Coast IPAs were always higher than that. You know, they were always about 60 or something. But to me, this one, it's a very kind of nostalgic beer, this. I really like it actually. I could sit and smell this all day. In terms of the the green side of the hops. There is a little bit of a floral aromaticity to this one. You can smell a little bit of that more kind of danky pine resin in there too. Definitely has a bit of a grassy presence to it and a little tiny touch of earthiness, but to me mainly the grassy notes, or the green side of the hops, sorry, are more kind of floral and aromatic, but also a little touch piney as well. In terms of the malty side of things, I would say you can definitely pick up a nice little bit of caramel coming out of this one. A little bit of kind of breadiness too. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one of the American two-row malts in here. And probably a bit of caramel as well. So nice and bready, nice little bit of a biscuity note to it as well when your nose adjusts. And also, you know, just that lovely kind of slightly sweet caramelly note out of this beer. But to me this one really smells a little bit nostalgic. This is a proper old school kind of West Coast IPA. If you think Stone IPA, the original punk IPA from Brewdog, things like that, this is one that's really going to kind of tickle your nose for you if you like. I really like these old kind of West Coast IPAs. Excited to try this. So without further ado then, let's have a taste of this one and see how we get on. This one is the Fyr Flamme IPA from Haandbryggeriet in Drammen near Oslo in Norway in Buskerud County. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Yeah, that's nice. That thumbs up to Haandbryggeriet for this one. I will say about this, I can tell from the flavour it's still in good condition, but it's not at its freshest. I can only imagine what this beer is like when it's fully fresh. But as it stands, it's still in pretty good condition, and that's just one of the things. When you get these things through Systembolaget, you're going to, you know, the Systembolaget buy these beers in a couple of months in advance, and they sit there. Rather than, you know, buying them like 2 weeks, like planning the order out properly with the brewer. It's one of my complaints about Systembolaget. They don't seem to account for the fact that IPAs need to be pretty fresh. Imperial stouts and stuff, their system works. You know, the darker beers, it's not going to cause much of an issue. But when it comes to bringing in foreign IPAs, you really need to make sure of the dates and things like that. Systembolaget really need to work on that. But as it stands, the beer is still in pretty good condition. I think this one is somewhere between 6 weeks and sort of 2 months old. It's something like that. But yeah, it's a really nice beer. This, it gets a thumbs up from me. I like how this one goes together. What I would say about this is, if you know the West Coast IPA style, which most of you watching the channel probably do, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't really do anything surprising. It's just really well done. And I say this about a lot of beers now because, you know, we drink so many New England IPAs and stuff like that. It's difficult to there's so many breweries now. It's difficult to make beers sort of stand apart. But what I would say about this one is that if you go back to probably, you know, 2014 or so, I guess, which is around the time I think this beer would have been released, this would have been one that people would be like, wow, you know, damn, it's one of these kind of things. You know, this is it's a really well done beer, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. I would love to try this on tap and try it like straight up fresh and see what it's like, because even as it is, it's very good. Yeah, that's nice actually. I really like how this goes together. But anyway, let's try and sort of break down the flavour a little bit and get it together. So straight away with this beer, you can feel that nice sort of bready malt base just blanketing the kind of middle of your tongue. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I would say it's two-row malts. It smelt like it in the aroma, but in the flavour I'm not quite sure. But you can definitely pick up a little bit of that pale malty white bready base there. The further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel some of the booziness coming out of this beer. I mean, it's only 6.5%. It covers its alcohol very well, but you can feel a little bit of the boozy kind of sweetness in the middle of your palate too. But on top of that, if you go into the very centre of your palate, you'll feel just this little oily kind of bubble of caramel, if you like. And as you move further out from the centre of that kind of caramel bubble sort of thing, you get a little bit more of a sort of biscuity note coming out of this beer, which is really is quite nice. I mean, it's a very straight up West Coast malt beer, this one. The way that the flavour comes out in this actually does remind me a little bit of the malt base that you'll get in the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. It really reminds me of that, to be honest. But yeah, I really like I like how that malt base goes together. Nothing surprising, but again, just very, very well crafted, I think. So smooth bready base, bit of kind of richer sweet caramel in the middle of the palate, and as you move out from the centre of the tongue, it becomes a little bit more biscuity. The further that you go into the aftertaste too, I'm finding that the sweetness of the kind of caramel in this one, the caramel side of the beer, really picks up a little bit. It's almost like your palate just sort of hones in on that a little bit and focuses on it. So I mean, that's really quite nice actually. I like that about this beer. There's no real like woody undertones or anything like that to it. It's very straight up in its malt base. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the side of this beer, along the sides of your palate with this one, I would say that this one becomes pine resinous quite quickly, and I think I'm pretty sure it's Chinook that's in this one as one of the base. The other thing that it could be is Columbus, but I always remember Columbus being a little bit more kind of spicy, and this beer, in fairness, it does have a little touch of a spicy quality to it. It might be, I think it could be either or, to be honest with you. If I was asked this question, maybe if I was asked which one of those two hops was in this beer, maybe about a year or two ago, I would have been able to tell you like that. But because there's not the big focus on bitterness these days in IPAs, it's a little bit of a piece of knowledge that I've lost almost. So, but there is a good sort of dankness, but there is a bit of an element of floral, spicy quality in there. Columbus, you have to remember, is used mainly as a bittering hop. It's not intended really to kind of complement the flavour, if you like, whereas Chinook, on the other hand, it has that big grapefruity quality as well, as well as the piney resins that it normally gives you. Columbus is just pretty much floral, spicy aromaticity that you get out of it. So I'm pretty sure they're using one of those two hops in this as a bittering thing. But as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy. So there is, I would say, the green side of the hops and the flavours really lean more towards that big floral spiciness and piney resin notes actually. But yeah, I like how this goes together. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get that nice oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue, where the fruity esters just roll out of the beer. And for me, this one, it does have a little bit, if you go towards the back, that's got that dark grapefruity note in there. That to me signals maybe is Chinook that's in this one. The further you go into the flavour as well, I think there's a little bit of I'm not so sure about Citra. I don't think this beer quite has the complexities that you would expect for Citra. I mean, maybe a little bit. I'm really not sure about that. I'm pretty sure Amarillo is one of the hops though, because you've got grapefruit at the back of that bubble, there's a little bit of tropical fruit in front of it, and then as you move further forward, it becomes a little bit more kind of oily and orange as well. But this one, to me, in terms of its flavour profile, this is really pretty old school, and I like that about it. It's one of these nostalgia beers for me. You know, it's got that lovely smooth and sweet malt base, big sort of hoppy bitterness on the edge of the tongue, and then you've got the grapefruit and the orange. It's a really kind of old school, sort of classic West Coast IPA, this one. I think this is very, very well done, and I wish, as I say, I wish more of these kind of new generation of IPA breweries would have a go at things like this, because it'd be really cool to see the West Coast IPA revived a little bit. So yeah, this beer gets a big thumbs up from me. But the fruitiness, I think, mainly grapefruit, good little bit of orange in there as well, and you know, there is another kind of tropical element in there, maybe a little bit of passion fruit or something. It could be a bit of Simcoe that's in here, right enough, if it's got a bit of the passion fruity quality. Grapefruit and grapefruit, that I've always found is quite a dark flavour. I wouldn't describe it so much as sour, because when you do that with these beers, of course, you're starting to get into, you know, Brettanomyces and all these things. But grapefruit to me is a very dark flavour. You've got a little bit of the passion fruit, which I think is a bit brighter, but it still has a lot of those dark qualities. And then you've got the orangey notes in front of that too. So I do wonder, maybe Chinook, Simcoe and Amarillo in this one as its hop profile. I don't think it's quite got the complexity for for Citra right enough, but I wouldn't be surprised if Citra was the other one, but I'm pretty sure Amarillo and Chinook when it comes to this beer. I always like playing Guess the Hops with these IPAs, but regardless, it's a very good kind of old school IPA, this one. And probably if we're doing a comparison to other beers in terms of the flavour profile, I would say if you like, you know, the Sierra Nevada Pale and the Torpedo and stuff like this, this again is another beer that I think is going to go down very well with you. Stone IPA and the original Punk IPA would be the ones that that I would talk about with this beer as well. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied beer. I think definitely mid-bodied beer. Smooth carbonation in this one. Mouthfeel has a good balance between wetness and oiliness. The thing that you always get with Norwegian beers, quality of the water they've got up there. I say the same about you know, Scottish beers as well. The beers, they feel very clean just because of the quality of water. You'll notice that with this too. Good bit of hoppy bitterness to this. I think we're talking at least 60 IBUs. Could be pushing the 70 right enough with the Chinook. The Chinook always gives you a good blast of hoppy character. So 60 IBUs I think is a good estimate for this one. Nice smoothness in the malt base, a little bit of sweetness there as well, good balance in it too, and a nice oily, fruity character to this beer. But overall, this is a really nice, solid West Coast IPA, this one. A little bit of a nostalgia trip for me, this one, but I'm glad that I was able to try this one. I've heard very, very good things about the IPAs from Haandbryggeriet, so it's nice to finally be able to review one for you here on the channel. And you will see me review the Inferno in a few videos time, so keep an eye out for that one as well. Pardon me. But yeah, let's leave it at that then. Just a really solid West Coast IPA, this one, the Fyr Flamme IPA from Haandbryggeriet in Drammen in Norway. A lovely beer this, and I'm glad I was able to review it for you here on the channel. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Haandbryggeriet as well. As always, I'm sure I'll return to review some more Norwegian beers for you at some point soon. Been great to try this one though. I hope you've enjoyed my take on it. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. Fyr Flamme IPA at 6.5%. A lovely kind of classic West Coast IPA from the guys at Haandbryggeriet in Drammen, Buskerud County, Norway. Till the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, cheers.